Thanks so much for joining us today. We can't wait to hear about your talk. I know the basis of it is a randomized study of the impact of CBD on various patients, and you've discovered a few key things about both dosing as well as what kind of product does it make a difference. So tell us a little bit about some of your key outcomes.
Yeah, sure. Well, just briefly about the study in general. So we recruited about 3,000 people.
So many.
And we had about 13 brands participate, each brand submitting one of their CBD products.
Okay.
And the 3,000 people, which were pretty a diverse group of individuals, they were randomized to either receive a product or not receive a product. And those that didn't receive a product were the control group. And then we tracked them for 4 weeks using validated outcome measures for well-being and pain and sleep and anxiety. And what we found is that across the board, there were significant improvements, not just statistically significant, clinically meaningful improvements across these domains. And because we used validated outcome measures, we know when this pain score changes, what's clinically meaningful, because it's been used in many other studies of different treatments and interventions. So across pain, sleep, anxiety, significant amounts saw clinically meaningful improvements, anywhere from 47 all the way to 60+% of people experienced a clinically meaningful improvement. And then for well-being across the board, we saw that there were significant improvements of well-being for all the individuals compared to the control group that received no products. So that was one.
And those improvements were consistent, whether it was insomnia, anxiety.
There were slight differences. So for instance, in the realm of pain, I believe it was 47% of people experienced a clinically meaningful improvement. For anxiety and sleep, it was 60+% that experienced a clinically meaningful improvement. And these were people who came into the study that had those symptoms. So if you came into the study saying, I'm someone who is experiencing pain, then we tracked your pain. If you came in saying, I'm experiencing anxiety, we tracked your anxiety. So of those people with those symptoms at baseline, and these people were naive to these products, and they hadn't been using CBD recently either. So that was a really interesting finding. Along those lines, we started then clustering the products by attributes, trying to see, was there anything about the product attributes that could predict whether or not it may be more effective or less effective. And when we clustered them by spectrum, so people often talk about isolate, broad, and full, and the prevailing belief is that full and broad tend to be better than isolate. And at least in our study, which, big caveat, very limited study, we're only studying 13 different products of a universe of thousands of CBD products, we at least didn't find that there were any major differences when you clustered the products by spectrum. So that the isolates all performed about the same as the broads, performed all about the same as the full spectrum products. So that was interesting. Then we started clustering the products by dosage per serving size. And what we found was that sometimes the high and low dose servings performed about the same, but there were some notable instances where products with a lower suggested serving size, lower dosage of CBD per serving, outperformed some of the higher dosage ones. And so, so clearly something else is going on here, perhaps the form factor. If you have a lower dosed product, but it absorbs better, it can match and maybe sometimes even outperform. We saw some of them outperforming significantly higher dosed products. So that was another interesting finding as well in the study.
So even the product types varied, like there was some...
Correct, that was the point. So this is what we call a real world evidence study. And what this study was trying to capture is when someone walks into a store, they're not using CBD, there's a new product they never used before, and they pluck it off a shelf. What happens to them in the next 4 weeks? So that's what this study was designed to ascertain. And so we were studying edibles and tinctures and capsules and lozenges and the whole variety of products. And some were isolates, some were broads, some were full. So one of the drawbacks of this much product diversity is because there were so many attributes changing, you have to take any of these product attribute findings with a big grain of salt, right? In an ideal world, you study 50 products, everything's the same about them except for dosage. So they're all full spectrum gummies. And then only the doses are changing in between them. So, I'm not the one who came up with this saying. It's saying that every good study requires like 4 more.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you have a career ahead of you in CBD
Right.
research.
Exactly.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, so this is just our first shot across the bow here at Radicle Science. We are proud that it was by far history's largest randomized trial of CBD, but there's many more studies that are going to come. So we're really appreciative of all the brands that work with us and the opportunity to do this type of work.
Fantastic. Well, we can't wait to hear more next year at the Emerald Conference. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Pam.
All right.